Frenchman Michel Dudignan started the season with a win to take the early points lead. Since then, the yellow jersey has passed through Germany thanks to David Gaspers, Greece, courtesy of Demetrius Houdaloutis, and then to the United States because of Gary Thiel's late success. With only 2 races remaining, what goes around comes around, as the series once again finds Dudignan at the top of the charts. Today, from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, it's the penultimate round of the Lotus 49 World Cup, and you can see all the simulated retro action from green flag to victory donuts live as it happens here on the Global SimRacing channel. A big maple leaf hello and welcome to another GSRC broadcast. Filling in for Joe Peak, it's yours truly, Bill Soupson, joined by the fan-built Johan Vanderbilt. Amjad Yaman has director duties armed with cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Johan, today we are at Mosport. Tell us a little bit about this place.
Yeah, exactly. Today we visit the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, previously known as Mosport. And this track was originally constructed in 1961 and was the second purpose-built road course in Canada. And throughout the years, Mosport has hosted its fair share of race categories, including Formula 1. Between 67 and 77, the track hosted 8 races, 2 of which the Lotus 49 actually saw the track. The best result of the car was achieved in 1969 by the late Jochen Rindt, who managed to grab a podium with a 3rd place position. Now, the track is known for being a circuit with ebbs and flows. It has long sweeping corners, steep climbs and descents, and also some difficult braking points. One of the most recognizable corners of the track is the hairpin, Moss Corner. The part of the track was actually designed by Stirling Moss himself. Moss participated in the first major race on the track in 1961 and suggested some track changes to make the racing more exciting and spectacular. The organizers listened to him, and as a thank you they named the corner after the 16-time Grand Prix winner. And the drivers today will lap Mosport 25 times in their bid for victory today. And to get a driver's eye view of how that looks like, let's hop on board our GSRC Lotus 49 for a lap around Mosport.
Alright, we're in the GSRC Lotus 49, so let's do a lap around Mosport. Down into turn 1, drivers can take a lot of this inside curb, so much so that if they wanted to, they can straddle it, bleed onto the power, and get the car to the right quick for Clayton. The crest here means you'll want to double apex this sucker by letting it drift back out mid-corner. As you scrub off speed, cut it back in and ease onto the throttle. Once again, switch sides quickly, get the car settled, and try your best to get the nose turned in for Quebec. The exit of this corner really opens up, but can't quite be taken flat to the floor until the car is pretty well straightened out. Then comes the plunge through turn 4. Ideally, you'll want your left front tire to barely glance the gutter on the inside. Hold tight to the left and use the compression at the bottom of the hill to get the car slowed up. As the track falls away, it'll want to push in the middle of Moss. Aim for the straightest exit you can out of this hairpin so that you can get on the gas as soon as possible. Now we've hit the Andretti straight, which proves no problem in most cars, but the 49 will be bouncing all over, getting squirrely. Here's a little trick I learned. Let 4th gear bounce off the limiter over the hump and the car stays planted so that you can keep your foot in it. Once you come over the final rise, you gotta slam on the brakes and get it turned in for the S's. Try to keep the car tight to the inside to offer a better line into 9. In the end, you'll want to set the car up for the ideal entry into White's Corner, which is the slowest of these switchbacks. Be gentle on the power, and if you kept it all together, you've now finished a lap around Mosport.
Joe Peak doing what few do better, and that is take us a lap around a racetrack. This time it is Mosport. All right, now let's take a lap around the point standings. We're going to start with the F1 driver standings. Keep in mind that these take into account the 2 drop races allowed for in the rules. We talked about it in the opening, how it's been shuffling around. Well, there it is, the Frenchman back up on top. Michel Dudignan, he started off with a win, and now he is closing fast. Now, he's got 13 points up on Gary Thiel from the United States. My partner and I were going through the math here. We think a 2nd place finish from Dudignan should be able to lock the championship, and it won't matter in the finale. How about the Finn, Marco Kika? Man, he has been really good all season long. He sits 30 points back. Careful, though, he's out of any drop race insurance. Also out of insurance is the Norwegian Ove Trengereid, 71 back. Too far probably to get a podium spot. And then David Gaspers, one of our early point leaders out of Germany. His real-world schedule took him away. That was really too bad that we lost Gaspers and Houdeloulis. It would have been a really close battle if those guys had been able to finish out the whole season. There is another championship. Johan's going to talk about that right now.
Yeah, you're talking about close battle as well. Close battle, look no further than the Formula 2 Championship, because Matt Wright and Hideki Kofisto has been going at it the whole season long. Last week though, Hideki Kofisto had some trouble and he didn't make the finish flag, and that's off Matt Wright finally putting some distance on his rival. 21 points between the two drivers, but with 2 more races to go, everything is still to play for. And behind them, the 3 American Musketeers are still going at it. Don Good is still in 3rd place position, 55 points behind Matt Wright, but still holding on tight for that podium position, although he's being chased by Andrew Ang and Johnny Bell.
And then we'll take a look at the Constructors' Cup. It's really more of a Nations' Cup here. And this one, just like we talked about up there in the F2 Championship, this is close. This one has been fun all season long, where they swap back and forth. Right now, it's the UK on top of the United States. Now, here's what's going on. You only score points for your country if you are the top finishing driver. So the country only gets 1 driver's contribution each round. But look at the United Kingdom. They have points from Claridge, Price, Perry, and Lake. And the United States has been a team effort as well, with Teal, Good, and Wright all chipping points. Only 12 points difference between those two. No drop races in this category. France doing it all by himself with Dudignan. Finland, though, Koivisto's chipped in 26 points. Kiko doing most of the heavy lifting there. And then Australia has 3 drivers. Zoko, Matt Wright, and Maurice has chipped in 16 on a finish. They are 58 back. Look like Australia's going to be able to hang on to that final overlay spot there. Okay, let's almost done with business here. Let's take a look at the race details, Johan.
Yeah, well, as some of the, probably all the viewers know, it's round 11 of the 12th round championship today in the Lotus 49 Championship. The race distance will be 25 laps with open setup. Now, once again, that means that the drivers can change the car all the way to their liking. They can turn all the knobs, flick all the valves, so the car behaves as best as they want it on these Canadian hills. And since last season, we also have a new point scoring mechanism with 40 points going to the victor, 35 for P2 and 30 points for P3. That's going to be important in the fight for the championship in the Formula 1 and Formula 2 championship.
One thing that matters in any race is the weather. Now, from looking at it, it looks nice and sunny. Let's see if we can bring that up. And Johan, maybe we can talk a little about that as we're going to bring that up, and we'll look at it right there. It looks, well, pleasant for the fans, maybe not so much for the drivers, though, huh?
I think it's also very pleasant for the spectators, with 23 degrees Celsius, well, 73 degrees Fahrenheit at the moment. It's kind of a good track temperature. It's not too warm. I think that the drivers might, yeah. I think it's okay. I think this is the kind of track temperature that you still have like a nice amount of grip in the car. I think that the drivers should be able to handle that.
You know, Johan, I've done a lot of the Skippy broadcasts that you race in when we do the absolute beginners, and the commentators are always fun to do those ones because we get to see the drivers muscle the car around, because the Skippy, gets kind of loose. That's kind of fun. That also happens here when you watch one of these Lotus 49s. You can really see the drivers work in them, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a difficult car, especially to get the power down. The car has so much power output that the rear gets really tail happy. It starts to slide. It's difficult to catch it at any moment, but also it starts to break away at moments you don't expect it. It doesn't have the downforce that you're used to in other cars, in other open wheelers. So, for example, on the big back straight at Mosport, the car suddenly might start to slide a little bit if you're going full throttle and you don't watch out. So it's a really difficult car in the way of it can break out in a way that you're not used to with other cars. So you always have to be on edge. You always have to be on your front toes to keep this car in a straight line and be quick at the same time.
Well, qualifying is going on right now. Let's take a look how that's playing out. There's the Frenchman, Dudignan, on top. Now, a name that we didn't talk about in the point standings because he hasn't raced enough, and that's Mick the Quick Claridge. But anybody who's watching any of these GSRC broadcasts should know Claridge. He's always quick.
Yeah, he is always quick, and I think the gap between the two drivers isn't that big either. Mick Claridge is only 2 tenths behind Michel Dudignan, so it's still to play for between the two. Usually they're quite close in qualifying, and then race speed wise they're also very similar. Although I see that Mick Claridge has basically given up his second lap time. He's doing some practice starts on the back straight. So I don't think Mick Claridge will try to work for that P1 position in qualifying.
I'm a fan of this series. I don't get to broadcast it much because Joe and you guys do that one, but I do watch it. I don't remember Nicola Kochi being a full-time driver. Is he new, or has he been around a little bit?
Yeah, he's been around for several races this season. He's a good driver that usually is not all the way up front. He's not like there in front of Michel de Jong, in front of Mick Claridge, in front of David Gaspers, but he's a driver that manages to grab podiums. He has several podiums so far this season, and I think that a P3 position in qualifying, where he currently is so far, it might actually be his season best so far. So I think the Italian is doing putting up some great performance out there today, and he is probably very happy with the 16.291 that he has set so far.
I'm going to put my European co-commentator to work here. You want to help me with the pronunciation of car number 7 there, sitting in 7th position? You want to try that one for me?
I think that's Philippe Urquhart. But
okay.
I mean, it's a UK and Ireland driver, so I think that the English speaker commentator should be doing it better than me.
Sister Mary Catherine in my elementary school didn't teach me how to pronounce that one. All we doing here is qualifying done. This is new, or we still have, I think, with a small field, we can wait a little bit here before we go to the grid. There are some familiar names. Matt Wright is here. Another one, though, a crossover one, Rob Olenek. Olenek is here, and we see him in the Camel series. He's come over to the little cross-pollination. Always good to see that happening.
Trying something else out. Now, you just mentioned Matt Wright. He is having a heavy battle on when we go through the qualifying positions. Keep an eye on the times for him and Hideki Kofisto, because these drivers are battling hard for the Formula 2 championship. And once again, there's barely anything between them.
18 names on the entry list, 16 were able to put in qualified times. Let's give you those right now. It is Michel Dudignon on the front row inside of Mick Claridge. Nicholas Kochi is going to sit in the 3rd spot, flanked by Gary Teal. Spots 5 and 6, that's Marco Kika and Richard Morin. The next row is going to be populated by Philippe Urquhart, we'll go with that one, and Daniel Gutusov. And then finally in the 9th position is Matt Wright and Hideki Koibisto.
The double 1 position, Rob Olenek, we just talked about him. He's half a tenth in front of Simon Shaw. And Drang is the first driver in row 7. He's being flanked by Marcellus Breuning. On P15, Randy Huff starts just in front of Johnny Bell, and there are 2 drivers without a qualifying time. Don Good in P17 and Robert Reynolds rounding out the field.
All right, this is the penultimate race of 2018 Season 3. It's been a good season so far. We have this one and one more to go. All our attention now goes on Michel Dudignon as they line up. The first corner will be a sweeping right-hander. Dudignon should be on the inside position, and the engines start to harmonize. You know what to do. Gather up the chickens, take covering on the cows, because the horses are out of the barn. A pretty good start from Claridge, but he's not going to be able to get Dudignon into the first corner. A battle going on for 3rd. It is the yellow car of Kochi. Boy, he is struggling right next to Gary Teal. And a battle up front for the lead. Look at this. I thought it was safe, but Claridge gets it done going through Clayton Corner. Dudignon fighting back as they head down into Quebec. Rounding out your top 5, it is going to be Marco Kiko.
Ooh, but Michel Dudignon putting heavy pressure on Mick Claridge immediately. I think they almost touched each other then turn 3, going on the run towards Moss Corner. Both cars swarming on the back. They're exciting. They're both loose, but it's still Mick Claridge going into Moss Corner first. Having a good run there, good exit onto the back straight. I think Dudignon has to wait, but what a power move from Mick Claridge. Immediately getting the P1 position and having track position in the track that is really difficult to overtake on.
One of the best passage zones coming up, but Claridge had such a great run, as Johan said, out of Moss, that I don't think we're going to get it done here. My goodness, Dudignon has that car really loose, but he keeps it under control.
Marco Kika behind him. He was very wide through the very big right-hander. Lost 1, maybe 2 positions. Philippe Urquhart is taking a look. Has to slot in just behind him through the last corner. Only loses 1 position, Marco Kika, but he almost lost his car. Kept it on the grass, immediately potted back to the asphalt, and lost 1 position going forward.
My goodness, a wag of the finger for losing control of the car, a tip of the hat for the way he was able to keep control of the car. That was out on the grass, a great job. Kika now back in the 6th position.
Behind him, Mercedes Breuning is spinning in turn 2. I think that, look, oh, behind him, he just gets missed by Johnny Bell. Also, we're going to replay of that because that was millimeters from disaster there, Bill.
He was trying to make the pass on Ing, and this was out on the grass. Bell had lost it as well. This was just sheer luck that Bell's car didn't get him. Watch this. Bell's also on the grass. He's got no control. Ah!
Ooh, in the momentum, Mick Claridge crashes. Mick Claridge crashes on the back straight. He was being put on a heavy pressure. As we go back here, we see him just disappearing. Now we might see it in the replay. Coming out of Moss corner. He had a slightly worse exit. We can see it here now. You can see that De Jong has a really good exit. Immediately puts him under pressure. And just where we talked about before the broadcast, Bill, in that straight line. Hey, you have a few curves here. And the car just disappears away under him. Sends him into the barrier.
My goodness, that's worth taking another look from up on top. This one, because this has such big race ramifications. You would think the car, he's in good shape here. Is that just the car from going over the rises, you think, Johan, that it gets away from him, or did you just misjudge?
I think it's the rise. I think it's the rise, and he got caught out in such a way that the car just got too loose, and he just spun. But yeah, maybe we should ask him, maybe he will pop in and we can ask him the question, what exactly happened. But it's something that's so easy to do in this car, and well, it's rare that we see Mick Claridge making a mistake like this.
So that moves Kochi up into 2nd. Thiel now into 3rd.
Yeah, exactly. The top 3 has driven away a little bit from the rest of the field. We were used from the Trulli train in Formula 1, where at the moment is the Kika train in this series. 4 or 5 cars right behind the Finn at the moment, all the way to P8.
And while that was going on, the same time that Claridge was spinning, Daniel Gattuso also got in an incident with, let's see who it was there. It was Simon Shaw. They got together. Both those cars continued, but they lost several spots. That happened in Moss as well.
Gattuso mentioned earlier in the forum that he's been struggling with Mosport this whole week. Basically every race that he participated in, he ended the race in the barriers. So shame to see him again having a little bit of trouble, but luckily for Gattuso, he's still on track, still turning laps, and probably be able to fight his way back for it. To look forward a little bit, Matt Wright is being engaged in a heavy battle with Rob Olinek side by side. We're going through the last corner. Rob Olinek is just in front going into turn 2. Good battle, but they have lost connection to the train being led by Marco Kika.
Yeah, Matt Wright had a bit of a problem through that last corner. He loses a little ground trying to run him back. That's a battle for 8th. We look at Matt back there. Not to be confused with, there are lots of Wrights in this one, not to be confused with Billy Bob Wright, also racing out of the U.S. These guys are behind Coy Visto, the Finn driver, having a great season. Now up front, I don't want to jump you around too much, but this is getting exciting. We go up to 2nd. Thiel has worked his way through traffic, and he is right behind Coach now.
Yeah, Gary Thiel is probably a little bit quicker in race pace. You can see a few laps ago he was almost a second behind him. He's right at the gearbox now. It seems like his car switches on a little bit quicker than Coach's. But like we mentioned, Bill, it's such a difficult track to overtake. Probably one of the only overtaking spots that you have is at the end of the back straight. So that would mean that Gary Thiel has to wait half a lap before he can finally make a move. Or he really has to try a do or die move in the next few corners.
Yeah, if he can hang in here and then get a good run out of Moss, he gets the best pass. But Kochi is really working that yellow car up front. It doesn't look friendly. Boy, he's having a hard time through that corner as well.
Kochi is also losing connection with De Jong. Last lap alone, he lost 8/10 to the French driver. So De Jong slowly but surely driving away from the rest of the field and really consolidating his victory and consolidating the championship, if we calculate it correctly. Now out of Moss corner, you see Nicola Kochi took a slightly wider line than Gary Thiel. Gary Thiel bumped the inside curve zone a little bit more. I think that the Italian has the upper hand at the moment. Gary Thiel is quite a bit away. He is hanging into the draft. He's edging a little bit closer, but I think he's just too far away to try and move, especially because you have to start braking quite early for this long right-hander. Gary Thiel has to stay behind him for another lap.
Yeah, Teal didn't have a great exit out of 6, and you need that for that long run down that back straight. Well, that one continues to go on. It's one of our best battles out there. It's nice when we can stay on a battle for a little while and not jump around. Let's go ahead and give this one a little more love here. So we'll see if we can take it around one more time as everything seems to settle down elsewhere. Come through there and we'll watch. We'll give Teal one more shot. He's actually, as they come into Moss, this is give him one more shot down this one to make this pass before he leaves this one. Might be a little too far back. Let's see if he gets a better drive off of here this time. Maybe. I think he's closer than last lap.
Yeah, it's difficult. It seemed like you can see, or at least for the last 2 laps, you can see that they have slightly different driving lines out of Moss corner. Nicola Kochi chooses to take a slightly wider line. Gary Teal chooses to have less track to cover, but he also hits the curbstone because of that, and he just gets a little bit loose every time. And it seems that even though he has less track to cover, he loses a little bit of traction because of that, and that hurts him in the long run. He's not able to try and make a move. But you can see he gets really close, so he's really on top of the gearbox there, going over the start-finish straight and going through the last corners. But Gary Teal probably has to find another line through Moss corner to try and make a move. Or if Nicola Kochi makes a mistake here in turn 1, he can try and move on the inside. This is really brave from Teal. Oh, cuts! Oh my Kochi. That's really good defensive driver from the Italian.
He kind of threw the block with the car half sideways, so boy, this is some good racing here. We've been on it for about 2 laps. That's a long time here for GSRC. There is another pretty good battle shaping up back in 5th position with Morin in 5th being chased down.
Oh, Rob Olenek is having trouble. I see him into the wall. He's going to a replay of that, but it seems like it happened in turn 3. He was being chased by Matt Wright just behind him. Rob Olenek had a wide line, couldn't hold his car anymore, just swung to the inside, as you can see here, hit the wall hard. That must probably have hurt his suspension quite a bit. Yeah, exactly, he's crabbing afterwards immediately. I think that's day over for the Camel GT driver.
Matt Wright back there, a very cool customer, just waited for the car to clear out of the way, and he gets that spot. Although he is under challenge now, let's go to the 8th position. Here comes Andrew Ng, he's on him.
Grang is putting pressure on him, but just a thing that I quickly want to mention is Matt Wright is currently driving in 8th position. And we were talking about Hideki Profisto a little bit earlier in the race. Hideki Profisto is in P7, that means the P2 in the Formula 2 Championship is in front of P1. The Finnish driver is slowly closing that gap to Matt Wright in the points. But with this result, the battle for P1 in the Formula 2 Championship is going to go to the final race of the season.
I love it. I applaud the series organizers for putting in the F2 championship. It gives those guys something to race on.
Don Good almost hit the back there of Randy Huff going to turn 1. Randy Huff went quite wide through the first corner. Obviously, Don Good going wide there in turn 2. Randy Huff had to go very slowly through turn 1. You can see Don Good had to completely step up the brakes to avoid him there. Immediately after that, he also had a little off incident into the grass in turn 2, but luckily for Don Good, he's back on track currently in P40.
I love that shot that our director had, the onboard camera there. You can see him sawing on the wheel. Good battle for 5th. We really haven't talked about this. This is Morin, Urquhart, and Visto.
Yeah, exactly. We saw Kika train at the beginning of the race. Well, Marco Kika has given up his chauffeur head there, and he has found some pace because he's currently 2 seconds in front of Richard Morin. The Canadian driver is putting some really impressive performances in his home Grand Prix. He qualified in P6, currently in P5, and he seems to be able to keep Philippe Urquhart reasonably easy behind him. Last time around, Urquhart did a 17.5, Richard Morin did a 17.6, but with that kind of speed difference, I would assume that Richard Morin has to make a mistake for Philippe Urquhart to make a pass for P5.
Hey, we have the opportunity to talk to a driver who was up in front for a while, Mick Claridge. What happened?
Did you see the right rear just touched the grass there just as I span off?
Yeah, we was that just from getting the car in the wrong position? It wasn't because of the of the rises? You just had it in the wrong line on the racetrack?
No, it was actually the rises. Had a messy entrance into Moss, and when I was coming out, yeah, it was bouncing all over the place, and they got such a low power ramp to get some speed out of the car, and yeah, cold tyres. I just weren't expecting it to lose the rear end there. It hasn't all week, not once. You know, I've never lost the rear end there like that ever.
Incredible shame what happened to you, Mick. I was just wondering, you had an incredible start. What was exactly going so right for you at the start? Because you immediately got past Michel Dudillon and got a P1 position.
Yeah, do you know what? I was looking at the grid when we was all lining up, and I was thinking, God, these cars are really spaced quite apart. You know, there's quite a distance between first and second. You know, like on the lengthwise. You know, not widthwise. You know, length from quite far back. So yeah, I think it was just a low power ramp I was using. You know, I got a really good drive in first gear and second gear. I did a lot of practices on the start, you know, because I knew Michel would be quick. And I watched it from his car afterwards, and as he went round turn one, he did have to come off the power. I think he went sort of a bit, he had a little bit of understeer mid-corner maybe, but he had to come off the power on the exit, and that's how I got in front. But yeah, it was a good start for me, but oh, so annoying, man, so annoying.
Well,
it would have been a classic. It would have been a classic one, Bill.
Yeah, I agree. I was very fortunate to sub for Joe here, and I go, oh, this is going to be good. Dudillon and Claridge going to go at it. Well, hopefully we'll get you on the season finale. You can do there what you couldn't do here today.
Yeah, cheers, guys. See you next week.
Mick Claridge, a multi-time champion, if you're not familiar with this series. While that was going on, when we were talking to Mick, look at this battle. It continues here. Teal, oh my, is giving Kochi everything he could ask for. Just can't find a way around him.
I think Gary Teal is starting to see green continuing like this, because it has been right in the gearbox of Nicola Kochi the whole race so far. He's trying it more and more. It seems like he's getting closer each lap and trying it left and right, but he isn't able to find a move yet. Now here, out of Moss hairpin one more time. Good work from Gary Teal. This is less wide, less loose than he was in the previous laps. Seems a little bit closer, and he's right in the gearbox now. This is the point where you gain speed. This is the point where you have that draft, where you get closer. But right after this little kink, you already have to go in the brakes. He takes a little look on the inside, not close enough to make a pass there, Nicola Kochi. I think that Kochi is also just driving defensively really good. He knows exactly what to do to keep that position. Again here, cutting up Gary Teal, who's taking a look on the inside there. Bit naughty from Gary Teal, but it's actually not a bad way of thinking to try and move in a position like that where your opponent doesn't think it will happen. But once again, Nicola Kochi will lead Gary Teal going into lap 12 of this race.
Johan, because these cars have braking zones that are so much longer than a normal car, than a modern car, do you think that makes it easier to get underneath somebody and outbrake them, or tougher?
I don't know. I mean, if you're a driver that's actually really strong on the brakes, and that's where you can make the difference, that will be really good for you, because of course you can brake later. If you have a very good exit out of the corner, I would almost say like it would hurt you a little bit, because you can use that advantage less long. But it really has a different characteristic than most cars that you would probably race with in the iRacing surface. Because it just handles so completely differently than you might be used to in other cars.
All right, take those one more shot. This time he is there again, but I think he's going to have to force the issue down into 8 if he has any chance of doing it. He just can't get close enough out of Moss, although he does have 14 more tries at it. He has no hope of getting up to Dudillon, who's running away with this thing.
Once again, he tries it.
Really that's his best opportunity. It's not into 8. It's through the S's. He seems to be really strong there.
If that is his best opportunity, and he's realizing that I wouldn't make that move for the next 2-3 laps, lull Nicola in his false sense of security, and then in lap 17, bam, you try that move in that corner and you get that position.
Daniel Gattuso just went off into the grass. He's going to lose all those spots.
Yeah, we're going to a replay of that incident. He was, of course, having some trouble at the beginning of the race. He fell the way to P12. He fought his way back up to P9 with this little mistake. Good save from him so far to keep it out of the wall there. He's back to P10. A little bit of an eventful race for Daniel Gattuso. He has the speed to achieve a good result so far. With a few off tracks, he still has to settle for P10.
He was off on the grass, scared himself right out of the cockpit as we saw that flow. Oh, here we go, moving into P12. We missed that one as Bruning got there. So he moves around Randy Huff. All these drivers looking to pick up points. And all this going on, we are contractually obligated to put the camera on the leader every so often. Let's go ahead and do that now, director. He's 9 seconds up, and that is Michel Dudignon looking to secure the championship with a win here today, racing in the number 1.
And he's been quick so far. Last time around 9/10 quicker than Nicola Cocci. And Dudignon really showing, especially when McLaren is not here, how good of a driver he is in the Lotus 49. The battle that we were talking about a little bit earlier in the race was for P5, Richard Morin. He was being chased at that moment by Philippe Urquhart and Hideki Grafista. Well, the battle has broken up a little bit. Richard Morin has found some extra pace, currently 1.5 seconds in front of Philippe Urquhart, who himself has been around half a second to 1 second in front of Hideki Grafista. So these three drivers stretching out a little bit, finding their rhythm and finding some consistency in which they're being able to drive away from their opponents.
Boy, passing has been at a premium here. You've got to be, I think, considerably faster than the car you're racing. Oh, look at this.
Yeah, talking about passing, Daniel Gattuso, he had that off moment a few laps ago. Was he trying to overtake there on the inside of Andrek? That's a really courageous move, Bill, to try it in Moss corner, but he makes it second. You can see Andrek squirm from the left to the right side of the track, going onto the power. He is not able to get a good exit out of Moss corner and try a move immediately back on Daniel.
They will have to wait as they work their way now into the S's. Being up 4 spots, qualified in 9th, up to their Kochi. Here we go. This is for second, and the pass has finally been made. Gary Thiel gets around him.
Well, it was not so much of a pass as a mistake of Nicola Cocci. You can see, we go to a replay. Both drivers actually went on the grass here. Yeah. Gary Thiel taking off, but Gary Thiel starting to rally cross a little bit less than the Italian driver, so he can go back on the power quicker and get a P2 position.
My mistake was worse than your mistake.
A little bit, yeah. And it's kind of funny to see Nicola Cocci just braking a little bit too late here, maybe not having an optimal line, sliding off the track there, and Gary Thiel's probably just looking at his rifle and makes the same mistake at the same moment. So luckily for him, his costs a little bit less. Both drivers are still able to continue. They're 12 seconds in front of Marco Kika, so it will not hurt them that much. It'll be interesting to see if Cocci is able to basically stay in the gearbox of Gary Thiel and put him under pressure now. Return the favor.
Yeah, they lost about 4 seconds to the leader. They weren't going to catch Dudignon anyway, but now this will let Thiel open it up a little bit.
Yeah, one battle that's heating up a little bit is for 6. Don Good, I hear, is having some trouble.
Out of Moss. Oh, and he gets it wound up, but not enough to keep the nose off the inside wall.
It was probably crumbled the nose a little bit. Luckily for him, he didn't hit the wall that hard, so he should be able to continue his race reasonably unscathed. And one thing that I was trying to mention was the battle heating up for P6. Philippe Urquhart is being put under pressure by Hideki Grafista, so the Finnish driver have found some speed the last laps around. Let's see, Hideki Grafista, yeah, he's been doing some 17.6s, really caught up to Urquhart now. Not able to have a good exit there out of Moss corner, but he's putting the UK and I driver under more and more pressure.
Yeah, I think it's more of Urquhart dropping back to Koivisto, because up in front, here's Koivisto going to make this pass. Nope. Going to have to wait. But it's also heating up ahead of these guys. Kika and Morin are also getting close together. So a battle for 4th, a battle for 6th.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see why that happens. Might be, it's a long race, of course. 25 laps with 1:15 lap time, so it's more than a 30-minute race. Might be that some concentration levels are slipping away a little bit. It might also be that the temperature and the setups are just, well, maybe built for the long run, or some are built for a slightly shorter sprint. But that's hurting or helping the drivers a little bit. Let's just say.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt. I was going to take you to 9th, but Andrew Eng backed out of it. He has been pestering Daniel up in front of him there.
Yeah, it's interesting that Andrew Ng is actually able to stay with Daniele Gattuso as well as he's been doing, because in qualifying he was almost a second slower than Gattuso, but in the race, since he got overtaken, he's able to actually follow the Italian driver quite well. You can see it here, the white car haunting the red and yellow Italian make Lotus. Andrew Ng, of course, fighting for the podium position in the Formula 2 Championship. He is currently P4 there. He's in front of Don Good, so that means that he will eat away a little bit of the lead of Don in that championship. If he can make a move on Daniele Gattuso, that will help him even further.
They come right at you. Let's leave that one for a second. Go back up to second position. I thought the Teal was going to run away from it, but not the case. Look at Kochi's back right there.
Yeah, exactly. Nicola Kochi not giving up, and it's of course always easier. I feel. I don't know if you agree with me, but I always feel it's easier to follow than to lead.
I do.
Yeah, so it might be that now Nicola Kochi has a reference point. He's able to just follow Gary Teal a little bit, use his braking points, his steering points, and get a little bit of extra speed out of that car. But he's following Gary Teal quite close. Gary Teal having a very loose exit there out of Mos Herpe. This might open some opportunities for Nicola Kochi. He is right in the gearbox. Once again, this is the place where you have to brake very early, but he's very close. If he dives to the inside now, he can maybe make a move stick. He's taking a look though. He's braking slightly later. He sets it inside and he gets gets very loose on the braking there. Good save from the Italian.
The problem that Teal has, he might be, at least he's been faster all around the track, but Kochi has been really good. Oh my gosh, that Italian driver's really working that car. Really good out of Moss. That's where I think Teal struggles the most. Probably one of the most important corners on the track as well.
Yeah, we saw him having so much difficulties to try a move in that at the end of that back straight. Probably because of the difficulties that he had in the exit of that corner. And once Nicola Kochi is behind him, he's almost immediately able to try and move there. I think Nicola Kochi was struggling with maybe some overheating tires at the end of that lap. Seems to have it under control now and just settle down, cool the tires down, slowly catch back up to Gary Teal for round number 2.
What's happened is this field is broken up into little 2-car tandems now, so we'll just keep jumping around, and when one of these guys make a pass, battle for second. There's a battle for fourth between Kika and Morin. There's a battle for sixth between Urquhart and Koivisto. And one for ninth between Gattuso and Ng.
Yeah, we were looking at this battle between Gattuso and Ng a few laps ago. It seems like Andrew Ng is putting some pressure. He's having a really different line from Moss corner, but it's helping him. Way more aggressive than Gattuso is, so you can see the huge distance that Andrew Ng gains in his Italian rival. Once again, I think he's a little bit too far away, Bill, to try and move, but keeping him under pressure, we saw Gattuso make mistakes twice this race. If we can force him into one more mistake...
let's go to 13th. Huff, they got together. This is another battle. Huff got together with Olenek. This one is fun.
Yeah, Olenek was 4 laps down.
That makes this one even worse. Because he comes in from behind. That's Olenek in the white car.
Yeah, I think Olenek, of course, was maybe a little bit quicker than Randy Huff there, and he didn't expect Randy Huff to slide as much. Just tapped him, sending both cars to the wall, and especially Randy Huff got the worst end from that, as his car went flying after contact.
That's a good point. I think you see Rob trying to get out of it. Well, there you go.
Yeah, that's a little bit too much slide for a good racing line. I think that was just a small mistake of Randy Huff, a little bit too much slide. And Rob Olenek wasn't able to avoid that car anymore. Randy Huff still on track though. No, he has parked it now. I think he will take it though. In the meantime, Daniel Gattuso has seemed to drop Andrew Ng a little bit, over almost 2 seconds between the two now from the battle for P9. 1.2 seconds, not that much. It's quite a bit bigger than it was when we last saw it, before that incident. And it seems that Andrew Ng has to put in some very good lap times in the final stint of the race to claw his way back to the red and yellow car. battle for P2 is heating up as well. Gary Thiel and in front of him, Don Good passing Robert Reynolds. That was a really heavy move. That's not a place where you want people to hit each other. Oh, Nicola Cocci getting into the back of Gary Thiel. Now let's hope that both cars aren't damaged because of that. That was because of the car of Robert Reynolds that they want to avoid. Side by side there. Nicola Cocci making the pass. Yeah, it seems that Gary Thiel has suffered some damage. He's crabbing over the start-finish straight. We're going to a replay of that incident that has huge championship implications because Gary Thiel, of course, was fighting for the lead in the Formula 1 championship. If he retires, I think that gives the title to Denion.
Gotta come to Reynolds' defense there. The car had to be somewhere on the track. I mean, you know, they caught him at the wrong spot, and then that's not the best racing line from Cocci as well.
Yeah, we're going to onboard for Nicola. You can see, man, that's such a scary image when you're trying to lap some people and you see two people in front of you lapping each other there as well. You know that there's always something that can go wrong, and unfortunately for Gary Thiel it just goes slightly wrong. Not even that much of a heavy bump on my screen, but enough to damage the car of Gary Thiel severely there. Going good off there in turn 3, staying on the grass to avoid other people. The Gary Thiel, luckily for him, he was quite a while in front of Marco Kika, but with only 4 laps to go, only 5 seconds between the two drivers. I think Gary Thiel will fall further down the order before the race is over.
He's dropping quickly. Well, he comes up on some more lap traffic now. He's take one more shot at Reynolds. Didn't work the first time. Reynolds trying to put the car somewhere. Now here comes shooting through. My goodness, that might be worth an onboard camera from Marco Kika as he kind of does a little bob and weave going around Reynolds and more and all at once. This would be fun.
It's like he's piloting an X-Wing or something. Just things on the left side, things on the right side, and he shoots it through the middle.
Shoot. Shoot.
It seems like Gary Thiel has, as we stay on the replay, opted in to take a move to take a tow. That's a day over for Thiel.
Honestly, that's some good sportsmanship. Take that tow before you end up getting in, causing more trouble, hurting somebody who's innocent out there.
Well,
back live, 23 seconds. Michel Dugnan now as he works around another lapped car of Marcello Brunning. Go ahead, Johan.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that sends Marco Kika to a podium position. He started at P5, he's currently in 3rd, and that means that we have a battle for a podium position because Richard Morin behind him is not that far, around 1 second between the two drivers. The Canadian is having a good race so far. He's 11th on the iRacing list, iData wise. He qualified 6th in the driving P4, so Richard Morin really punching above his weight almost, but showing some incredible performances here at Mosport. Behind him, Degen Corfisto and Philippe Urquhart are also trying to lap the car of Don Good. I think both drivers will pass Don Good before they enter that section. Yeah, before they enter the last stadium section. It's very close between this in this fight for P3 and P5.
Yeah, and they're not that far ahead of Matt Wright, who we really haven't talked too much about. He's back there in 7th. Matt's trying to get around. Good pulls out of the way. Another slow car. That's Johnny Bell that they go around.
And it's actually funny that Matt Wright, because a few laps ago he was something like 5-6 seconds, if I remember correctly, behind Corfisto. Yep. At the moment it's only 1 second. So yeah, because of fighting, because of traffic, Matt Wright managed to make up huge swaths of time, and maybe he is able to play a part in the battle for P5.
I really like what Cocci did today. He just stayed out there and battled the whole time and able to hang on. Going to get a 2nd position. Maybe not the fastest car, but well done.
Yeah, we go to the fixture. It's really the last lap of the race. Michel de Leon has just started it. But what a performance has the Frenchman shown. He is having a quickest lap time a few laps ago for 1:15.7. We'll compare that with the rest of the field that are doing 1:17. So it's an incredible performance from the French driver, who will not only grab a victory today, but also will grab the championship in the Formula 1 category.
Well deserved. Honestly, I've been following this series all season long, and I didn't think that the Frenchman had a shot at the championship, but he came on strong at the end, ran everybody down. And now he just has, well, about 3 more corners between him and picking up the win here at Mosport. Putting on a little bit of a show. Atta boy. One more right-hander to do. Let's give round number 11 of the Lotus 49 World Cup to Michel Dudignon. Nicola Kochi gonna get second. That was a hard-fought second.
Yeah, but he has deserved it. Like he only made one little mistake in the race that cost him P2 temporarily, but he put the pressure on Gary Thiel, and with some bad luck for the Gary Thiel, he actually managed to get back that P2 position. He has some good pace out there and deserves that P2 position. Marco Kika is being put under some pressure. Richard Morin trying a very late braking move in turn 8, but not enough to close the gap to the Finnish driver. Marco Kika brings home the final podium position just in front of homeboy Richard Morin.
Philippe Urquhart getting 5th. Koivisto gets 6th ahead of Matt Wright. Matt was coming. He just needed a few more laps to get to those guys. He's going to have to settle for 7th. There were 10 cars on the lead lap. Daniel Guttuso, Andrew Eng, and the last one we didn't give much love. Can we get Simon Shaw? We didn't talk about much Simon as he's coming through whites right now. He's going to get a top 10, finish on the lead lap. All right, the racing is over here in Canada, but the broadcast is far from done. We'll take a short break. We will come back, run down the entire finishing order, talk to some of the drivers before we put a lock on the gate. Back in a few. round here in Mosport. Let's give you the finishing order of the race that just took place. It is Michael Dudignon. He gets the win and he wraps up the championship according to our numbers here at GSRC. A hard-fought second for Nicola Kochi. My goodness, he fended off all comers, and a second place well-deserved. Marco Kika gets third for Finland. That'll help them in the Constructors' Championship. Richard Morin comes home in fourth. Philippe Urquhart in fifth position. Now the back half of your top 10, another Finn, Hideki Koivisto, just ahead of Matt Wright and Daniel Guttuso. Andrew Eng, and Simon Shaw round out the top 10. Johan?
Yeah, and the rest of the drivers came home one lap down to the leader. Marcellus Breuning is the first one, coming home in P11 after making up 3 positions. Don Good had some trouble out there, but still made up 5 positions to come home in P12. Jody Bell finishes in 13th position, 2 laps down Robert Reynolds, finishing the race in 14th. And a few drivers that had trouble. Gary Thiel with that unfortunate moment with the back marker that saw his car starting to crap over the circuit, has to settle for P15 in the end. Randy Huff, after that hard hit of Olinek, sent into the wall and only coming home classified as P16. Master drivers Rob Olinek P17, and Mick Claridge, after that spin after Moss corner, has to settle for 18th position here.
We'll fill for just a bit while we wait for some of the drivers to climb the stairs up to the broadcast booth to talk to us. We make them come to us. We don't go down to them here at GSRC. It was nice to get Mick Claridge in to talk to us during the race. It's makes me feel a little better about my racecraft to know that even Mick can make those mistakes. Johan?
Exactly. Even the best make mistakes apparently, and it's just this heartbreak for Mick Claridge. He has had a slightly challenging season. Last season he was phenomenal, impeccable, and almost didn't make a mistake. And just this season, some of his mistakes, some mistakes that weren't his, just didn't went his way. And he has one more chance to end the season on a high. And I think that Mick Claridge is one of the drivers able to.
Well, of all the drivers I wanted to talk to, this is the guy that I'm happy that he made it to our broadcast booth. I'm talking about the guy who came in second, Nicola Kochi. Congratulations, Nicola. That was a hard-fought second place.
Yeah, thank you, guys. It was very hard. Not only because this track is very challenging, but because a lot of things happens. And I am so sorry that Gary had to leave the race because of that contact, because we were having like a hell of a good fight there.
You had a one pass where you got past when you went off on the grass, and you looked over, and Thiel was on the grass as well, but he just didn't go quite as far as you did.
Yeah, I did a mistake there, maybe the only one, but on that corner, if you lose the rear, even if for a split second, it's very hard to stay on track. And I think that I misled Gary as well, then made the same mistake.
Correct me if you think I'm wrong on this one, but watching from a distance, to me, it felt like you were better out of Moss, out of 6, the corner that sets up that long back straight, than Thiel was. Did you have that impression as well?
Well, in that double hairpin,
yes,
it was a little bit like hit or miss. Sometimes I was keeping the line there and applying the throttle early, and I was able to get a good exit from there. But sometimes I was a little bit too sideways, because there I used the first gear to force the car to rotate, so a little bit like a rally style. But for who follows, there is like a very big punch in the air, and that draft allows you to close very, very easily. And when I was in front, I thought that Gary was faster than me, but after I was following, I realized that we were pretty matched on pace, but stay behind. It's easier to stay close because of the draft, and I was able to close back a couple of times on Gary.
Since there's nobody else in the interview room, I'm going to go one more question. This one is just for me, so I can try to learn a little bit. These tires back in 1967 were pretty hard. Do you have to save them? Do you worry about burning them up on a race?
No, actually, I'm not really, tire saving, fuel saving driver. I am mostly go flat out all the time. But yeah, I have a friend of mine that call it wooden tires, and it's not wrong. The good thing is that you cannot you can like not worry about the wearing. But he has drawbacks, because sometimes when you got very sideways, or you have like a big power slide, the temperature goes up, and it takes like 2 or 3 corners to go back down. And in those 2 or 3 corners, the car is very, very slidey, almost like we were on ice on the wet track. And before I leave, I would just want to thank Gary, because once again we had like a very, very good fight, very fair driver, and it's always a pleasure to drive with somebody that met you that close. And in iRacing happens a lot. In every championship that I did, I always find somebody that it was almost like mirroring my pace, and it's always a pleasure to drive like that. And I'm sorry that we had that contact on with the back marker.
My dad used to say, you're not driving to the store to get milk, it's racing. So, hey, this was a good interview. I learned a lot. Congratulations on the 2nd place today.
Thank you, guys, and see next race.
You
hopefully.
Got it. Nicola Cochi, our 2nd place finisher today. That was good. I learned a little bit. He's a good interview. All right, that's our only interview today, so that's going to wrap it up. Let's go ahead and thank some of the people that make this possible. How about Ben Soko? He's not here with us today, but he's the organizer of the Lotus 49 World Cup. And to the community members who support the broadcast. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast. They're listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to Eric Eckelm and June Lalonde, who provide the wonderful music. See the screen to how to contact each of them. The Lotus 49 World Cup returns in 1 week for the season finale. For more information about GSRC, visit globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to head over to the YouTube page and hit the big red subscribe button as well, so that you don't miss any of the moments here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. On behalf of the crew, Johan, Amjad, and Dougie, I'd like to thank you all for watching. With that said, we're off to have fun storming the castle. So until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.